actually being a bit more upbeat around popular culture for a change. I know that we've spent a few episodes, you know, rightly, I think, sort of questioning where pop culture is going, movies, music, TV, etc., and this concept that a lot of content is just being recycled. It's not new, it's not fresh, but there are some odd gems here and there that pop up from time to time. For me, I'm going to focus on two current TV shows and two films that one's out now and another one's coming out later. Shogun, which is on Disney Plus, although under their Star brand, obviously, because I don't think it's a very Disney-esque kind of show, is really spectacular. I'd obviously have to see the rest of the show. It's not all out yet, but it all looks like a really lavish production, and they put a lot of effort in. And one thing that I really did appreciate is that they actually had the Japanese speaking in Japanese rather than doing the American Hollywood cheat of having them speak English. And although there's a bit of a cheat in there where, the English-speaking people are actually supposed to be speaking Portuguese, but I guess for the benefit of the audience, they're speaking English. But apart from that, like, it's actually quite spectacular in terms of its production, and kind of highlights, like, every now and then you can get excited by these things. And similarly, there's another show that's on Netflix called House of Ninjas, which is probably a bit smaller scale, but still really well done. You know, it's a mystery thriller. You know, there's a threat, there's a crime, and you go to your ninja family to go sort it out for you. Lots of ninja action in there. And it's got some of that sort of quirky Japanese humor in there as well. I actually quite liked it a lot. And I don't think Netflix is actually promoting it as much as what they probably could, although it seems to be catching on in around the place as well. So it's just sort of to highlight that, you know, it's good that these shows are out.
Yeah, it's great. This sort of productivity sort of or creativity is still has a niche, and I think we've noted anyway over the years that probably on the streaming services, when they produce their own content, they follow, I guess, the original HBO path where, you know, they allow storylines to be creative and to grow in specific ways. And I almost wonder if there's some reason that Netflix aren't overly promoting. Maybe there's something they know about. You know, the best way to get the biggest audiences is not to promote and let word of mouth if they've got a good show. I think that's a great strategy too. So it's interesting, isn't it? But it's also awesome to see shows like this making their way, you know, and being there for people to view.
And it's an interesting point, especially with Netflix, because they've had successes before with what you would call foreign language content. Squid Game being the obvious example that sort of took over the discussion and the discourse for a while it was out. So it's a way to actually access a lot more newer content as well. So if you don't feel like you want to be inundated with the Hollywood product, even though Shogun is a Hollywood product, at least you've got some other alternatives.
Oh, I think you're right, and it is an interesting point, because I think in the past, particularly in the US, they would have been very nervous about showing, foreign content, because that's, from an Australian perspective, that's for SBS to do. But the beauty of a on-demand service is that you choose when you watch it, you choose what you want to watch, and if the quality is there, you invest the time to watch it and understand it, or really get into it. I mean, I think that's really what on demand has given us, probably more so than what we used to see on normal linear TV, is that it gives people an opportunity to invest a little bit more. You can binge, but not just binge, you can also watch, and I think watch more deeply, because you can pause, you can think about things, you can watch them twice to see, did I really see that, or have I got it right? So the investment is there, so you can put a lot more complicated content in, and perhaps that's what they're starting to understand now. You don't need to go to a generic format anymore. You can be a lot more novel with your content, as long as your content appeals to an audience.
Oh, and just in case anyone's thinking, because I've bashed remakes and recycled content before, Shogun is obviously not the first time it's been adapted. It's a very famous book, obviously. There was a mini-series in 1980 that was a big thing at the time, but in this particular case, I think rather than, say, remaking Star Wars: A New Hope into the same film 30 years later with The Force Awakens, in this particular case, they're two different things, and they're done at completely different scales. And I actually think that's when a remake makes sense, because you've got a whole new fresh take on the material.
Oh, absolutely. And if you think in the probably 40 years since the original Shogun, well, we all know how much better content is today, visually and, well, in every respect.
Absolutely. I did also want to touch on Dune Part 2 and the Deadpool and Wolverine trailers. I haven't seen, obviously Deadpool's not out yet. Dune 2 has just come out. I haven't seen either one of those. I'm going to hazard a guess that, because I really loved Part 1, that Part 2 of Dune is going to be pretty good, and by all accounts it is. Sadly, it's still not going to drag me out to the cinema to watch it. But a bit like Oppenheimer, I was like, thinking about it, but I'll probably still won't do it. But having said that, a lot of the commentary that's coming out about Dune in particular is that it's like the reason why people would be into movies in the first place. It's like a reminder of what, I guess, the pinnacle of what Hollywood can do at its best, and that's something to be encouraged and to celebrate, I think.
Oh, I totally agree. And look, from a personal perspective, I went and saw Poor Things last year. At least I think it was last year now. And in Australia, that was almost, I don't know, it was like an art film compared to how Barbie was marketed. Poor Things in Australia barely had any profile at all. I went and saw it and thought I was seeing something that was, like a well-kept secret. And then I saw how many Oscar nominations it got. So, from that perspective, I was heartened that something a little bit different could certainly get recognition that it did, and I think that's pretty much what we're commenting on today. Is just that I think maybe we're just seeing a glimpse of opportunities for unique, novel, and slightly different content and slightly different ideas sort of are finding audiences, and so maybe it's a mini renaissance for film.
Absolutely. And just quickly, I did want to touch on the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, only because I got a nice chuckle out of it. I've enjoyed the previous films, and the thing that I find interesting is that, we've had a bit of a dig about Marvel in recent years in the past, but it seems clear that they've got the potential there to, to upset the apple cart in terms of kicking it all over and maybe starting it again, because there's a lot of fourth wall breaking in that trailer, and just having Ryan Reynolds with his peculiar sense of humor, calling himself Marvel Jesus, and he's going to change the whole cinematic universe, was just refreshing to see.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen the trailer, but I'm going to have a look at it right now. That breaking the fourth wall, it used to be a no-no, I guess, or you had to do it in a particular way, but it sounds like it's being used at least to comic effect for you.
Oh, absolutely. And look, for lots of people, I think, because even if like ardent Marvel fans, I'm pretty sure, haven't been terribly enthused with how the last couple of years have gone, just in terms of the product that's been produced. So, this film's coming out in July. Maybe it can re-energize things for them.
Oh, let's hope.
Absolutely.
The last few haven't been that good.
Exactly.